It's been a little while since I featured a Rado here. I think the last one that I featured here on my channel was an Overpole. That was a vintage watch, and I ended up selling a little while later, and I do regret selling that watch because it was really cool. But today I have one of their newest watches. Well, it's not that new, it's been out for a few months, but it is an Overpole, exactly the same as my vintage version, and I am very excited to show you guys. I also have a second watch. It's a really special edition from Rado. It is one of their ceramic watches because that Overpole is not. Usually most of their watches are ceramic. That Overpole isn't because the vintage version wasn't. This special edition is really design forward. I'm really excited to show you guys these watches. So let's flip the camera and take a look at two amazing Rado hands-on. So in this video, I'm going to show you sort of two sides of Rado. This is a vintage reissue of the Overpole, which is essentially a Captain Cook. Captain Cook is their dive watch. However, this is technically not a dive watch. It's a world timer with 100 meters of water resistance. I own the vintage version of this watch, and it was amazing. I loved it. There was a problem with the movement and I didn't keep it, but I didn't want to go through all the rigmarole of getting it repaired, so I just sold it to a friend, and I do regret that. It was a little bit smaller than this watch, but this is an extremely true to the original reissue. This gets a very similar champagne opaline dial, those faceted gold tone indices. It just says Overpole right above the 6 o'clock position. It has a sunburst effect, and you have that Rado logo, which is a little anchor that moves. It's like a little jewel, like a little watch jewel. Then you have that anchor applied to that. That little anchor does move. Right below that, it says Rado. There's a little bit of lume on the dial, just a little bit on the hands, none on the seconds hand, and there are little dots of lume behind each one of those faceted indices. You have I believe a ceramic bezel. I couldn't find that information, but I believe it is a ceramic bezel, and because it is a Rado, I assume that it is, and all of the cities are written in gilt. So it looks really good. It's a little bit hard to read in direct sunlight, but I have to say, it looks so good on this watch. And that's probably the biggest difference between this and the original, because the original, it had the cities painted on the dial, and a lot of those did rub off. This is also an angled bezel, so it is sort of angled towards the dial. I love that style of bezel, especially on vintage watches, but a modern watch that does it is very welcome. I wish more brands would do it. You have a very boxed sapphire crystal on here, as well a gold tone case. The gold tone case is obviously in stainless steel this time. Usually Rado, known for their ceramics and the materials that they use. However, to keep it sort of true to that original, this is a gold tone stainless steel. Again, I actually own this exact watch, except the vintage version that had a gold or a rolled gold or a gold plated case. I don't remember which one it was, but it essentially looked like this. You don't get a screwed-in crown. That's the reason why you're getting 100 meters of water resistance. It is a hand-wound movement inside. The original that I had was an automatic and had an A-Shields movement. Obviously, this gets an ETA movement. This gets an Rado-specific ETA movement. It's called the R862 World Timer movement. It's a hand wound movement with 80 hours of power reserve. When you flip it over, it's really nicely finished, and you get to see it from the sapphire crystal on the back. The case back is in stainless steel, and that is uncoated. This is a limited edition, so it says it's a limited edition of 162. I assume that's because of the year that this watch came out in. The movement is good looking. You have blued screws. It's decorated really nicely. And like I said, it gets 80 hours of power reserve. It's also tested in-house by Rado in 5 separate positions. So this is adjusted, and that's pretty cool. It also gets a Nivacron hairspring, so something also to keep in mind. These are pretty high-end versions of ETA movement. So this would normally be a 7001, something like that. And they put a lot of work into it to make it a little bit more special. Lots of power reserve, and also very nicely decorated. This is a 38.9 millimeter watch. You have around a 45.5 millimeter lug to lug, and then you have a 10.5 millimeter thickness, somewhere in that range. That's including that bezel that is sort of sloping towards the center of the watch, and then that box sapphire crystal. So you have a sapphire crystal on the front and back, 100 meters of water resistance. That's pretty good. That's a very nice, well, actually, a very thin watch for what you are getting here. I think it looks really good as well. You have a really nice calf leather strap on here, a gold tone buckle that has a couple of different facets on it. It's also signed with the brand name. This also comes with a bracelet. The bracelet on here is very vintage inspired. It is a beads of rice bracelet. I'm not going to put it on the watch because obviously this is not my watch. It is lent into the channel by Rado, so I don't want to scratch up their watch. But you can see here, it has a really interesting vintage inspired, very true to the original buckle. Double push button, really feels nice. Scissor enclosure. The only thing I would say is there is no on the fly micro adjust. They could build a little bit of on the fly micro adjust into this clasp. I don't think there is any sort of micro adjust here. Although maybe I am wrong, I don't think there is any micro adjust at all. So you're going to have to be able to size this with each one of these links. Even though the links aren't big, I would like to see a little bit of micro adjust in a watch like this because obviously it makes a lot of sense. The other watch that I want to show you is the complete opposite of the watch that we are looking at, that Rado Overpole. This is a Rado True Round, and it is a collaboration with Le Corbusier. That's as good as I am going to pronounce that. They do a lot of collaboration with design brands and designers. This is a very interesting design. Now, this is not going to be for everyone. You have this very weird pattern on the dial. The hands are in white and orange, orangish reddish color, I would say. And then you have a ceramic case with a ceramic bracelet. So you have a very interesting design here. It's very organic in nature and it flows directly into the bracelet. It's not really an integrated bracelet watch, but it kind of is at the same time. I'm not sure you could even wear this with a strap. And you have this beautiful feeling bracelet. Everything is media blasted. Although it's just cast in this color, shape, and finish, it looks like it's bead blasted, sort of. And then you have a case back that is in a different color. I believe it is also ceramic. You have a sapphire crystal, and there's a little message on there. There's a bunch of different colors. I'll do close-ups so you can see what I'm talking about. I believe this is a limited edition as well. It is also powered by a in-house, technically in-house, 2 Rado caliber, which is made by ETA. It's the R763, which is, I believe, based on the ETA 2824. However, again, it gets 80 hours of power reserve, that Nivercron hairspring, and it is tested and adjusted in 5 positions. So you are getting a really good movement inside here in a watch that is somewhat polarizing, I would say, but at the same time, really interesting. It's not something that you see every day, and it is full ceramic, and they perform really well. It's almost impossible to scratch these watches. They will look new forever. On my wrist today, I have my Vacheron. This is my Vacheron Traditionnel in rose gold. You get basically a completely rose gold watch with even the spring bars being rose gold on this watch, which is pretty impressive. I love this watch. I think it's such a good looking watch, and it's one of those watches that will never leave my collection. And there is the Overpole on my 7.5 inch wrist. This brings back memories. It's such a good looking watch. I love it. It really is. And I think that they made this in a stainless steel version as well. So an uncoated stainless steel version as well. I don't know if that is still available. I believe that has completely sold out. This is the new version. And like I said, this is the version that I actually owned. I owned this version with a gold toned case, and I think it looks really good. Tell me what you guys think down in the comments below. This is around a 39 millimeter watch, essentially a 39 millimeter watch with around a 45.5 millimeter lug to lug and a 10.5 millimeter thickness. I have a 7.5 inch wrist, and I think it wears really well. And there is the True Round on my 7.5 inch wrist. This is around a 40 millimeter watch, so I measured in around 39.9 millimeters, 10.6 millimeters thick, so just slightly thicker, really actually pretty thin. And then you have around a 47 millimeter lug to lug. Although that is a true lug to lug, not like a lot of integrated bracelet watches. This is a true lug to lug of around 47 millimeters, which is pretty good. Well, there you go. Lume is okay on the Overpole. It's not incredible. There's not a lot of surface area of lume, so it's not incredibly bright. And there is no lume on the seconds hand. I'd love to see a little bit of lume on the seconds hand, although the original did not have lume, so that kind of makes sense. The True Round gets no lume because technically that is a dress watch. You can see there is no lume on there. That True Round comes in at $2,800. That is really good for a full ceramic watch. They do that because they're able to do it. They make a lot of ceramic watches, and that's kind of what they do and what they're known for. So $2,800, they can do a full bracelet, a full case, and case back. All the little individual parts are all made out of ceramic, which is pretty cool when you really think about it. The Overpole comes in at $3,200. That's because you're getting the bracelet, the strap, and of course it is a limited edition of 1,962, I want to say, something like that. So I think that's also a pretty good price considering what you're getting, the movement, all the different components of both of these watches, really high quality. I really like Rado. I like what they have done in the past. I like what they're doing now. I think some of their watches are getting better and better. There are some of their watches that I don't find incredibly attractive, but some of them I think are pretty cool. These are two watches that I specifically asked to see. These were lent into the channel by Rado, and I do appreciate that. Anyway, guys, tell me what you guys think down in the comment section below. I want to hear from you guys. What do you think of both of these watches? I want to hear from you. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that bell icon. It is super helpful for the channel, and I very much appreciate it. Anyway, guys, thank you for logging on. Thank you for watching this video. I will catch you guys in the next video.